Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our webinar today. We're going to talk about our Push Button DR platform, and we have our friends from Zerto here today. My name is AJ Kuftik. I'm Principal Technologist with Expedient. I want to thank you for joining us today. Before we get started, a quick housekeeping note. If you have some questions, please enter them into the Q&A panel. It helps us keep track of the questions and make sure that they all get answered. Please don't enter them into the chat. They won't get answered because it's very hard to find them. If you ask a question, you're entered to win a prize. That prize today is a 40-inch Vizio Smart TV, which is pretty great. And all of this is being recorded. So if you have to step away, you missed something, or a coworker wanted to see it, wasn't able to make it, this will be available on our website or YouTube page. You'll get a link to it. It will be on our Instagram feed @_Expedient on IGTV. So please check us out, a number of different avenues to watch this. For those of you who are new to Expedient, we were founded in 2001. We started as a co-location provider, moved into managed services and cloud. We have cloud locations US East, Central, and West. Our West region just opened at the end of 2019 in Phoenix. We have international cloud deployments in Germany, Australia, and Canada on customer sites. So if our cloud locations don't work, we can bring that cloud to you. We've been recognized by Gartner for DR as a service for the last 3 years in a row. We are a VMware cloud provider. We've been running almost 40,000 virtual machines on our platform, and we've been doing it for almost 13 plus years now. We've been a VMware cloud provider since 2007, so over a decade of us running VMware solutions at scale. And we're a Zerto Platinum partner. And through that partnership, we have Derek Adair. He is a cloud architect from Zerto. And Derek, how are you doing today?
Appreciate it. So what I want to talk to you about today, I'm Derek Adair, Zerto Cloud Architect. I've been with Zerto for over 3 years, been working with Expedient during that time as well. I want to set this up just by speaking about what we've been seeing at Zerto from enterprise customers post-COVID. We're finding that enterprises are divesting themselves of assets that aren't strategic to their core business, and then capital expenditures for data center are not really an appealing endeavor anymore. I'm sure many of you can attest to that. The tone in the market's gone from hybrid cloud, which we're kind of talking about, from 2013 to, 2018, I'd say, and then kind of the multi-cloud message, which I think many of you are hearing now. And then, we're really at the point now that on the new decade that it's all in on production and cloud. We're seeing enterprises start to fold into clouds like Expedient with their production, with their DR, having it in an all-in-one solution and offloading that work because nobody wants to do it anymore. We're going to see acquisitions accelerating this year and next. There's going to be migrations, integrations. Those are all heavy lifts. The business of maintaining, running an infrastructure, and then having to do those things on top of managing the infrastructure, the migrations, the integrations of different companies. We've seen that decimate IT teams, right? It's very difficult work. They already have everything that they need to do for their security posture, for everything they need to patch, update, keep everything fresh in terms of hardware and software. Well, that's things that you don't have to worry about anymore. Enterprises are feeling the pressure of data center risk, the need for continuous availability, the need to stay up to date on security. Brand reputation, obviously, is very high on the list of things that enterprises, CXOs, IT administrators, they're all thinking about, right? So why not offload the liability to a trusted partner like Expedient? As I said, I've worked with them for over 3 years. They've been with Zerto since very early on. They've been tuning, perfecting the platform. They have all the same technicians in my 3 years here that are still at the top doing the work. So they're very experienced in what they're doing. And I've seen the benefits of their partnership, their innovation, working on behalf of their customers as distinguished technologists, operating with integrity, assisting Zerto and helping to build out our multi-tenancy platform. So they've been very valuable to us. I know that they'll be valuable to you as well. Expedient's been putting enterprise customers into the cloud since before that was even a thing, right? Enterprise cloud is now a reality. And when you enable Push Button DR powered by Zerto, you're not only getting the dedicated, hardened, experienced capabilities of a world-class partner like Expedient and a world-class manufacturer like Zerto, you're also unlocking Zerto's technical value. That includes near zero RPO, which everyone is looking for continuous availability, no impact on production, no agents, no snapshots, You're preventing public cloud lock-in. You have an advantage over public cloud, which I know AJ will go into in this presentation. And then you have unrivaled scalability, automated recovery capabilities, application portability, load balancing, security and performance. And this is all with one key, right? This is what you have. This gives you IT resilience. This gives you a proven partner with strong long-term leadership that's been in place to guide your business in a new decade, and to have them to manage what has become too burdensome with the threat of ransomware and all types of disaster to manage yourself is to your advantage. And it's really how business is going to be done in the new decade. It's the 2020s. It's the decade of enterprise cloud, and there's still time to get in early and look smart. So one thing that I do want to point out before I pass it off to AJ is that ZertoCon is coming up on June 10th, and it is going to be a free virtual event on the afternoon of June 10th. I invite you to all sign up. And with that, I hand it back to AJ.
Thanks, Derek. That'll be today's presentation. Great job, Derek. Thanks. Also, if you are going to go to ZertoCon, Expedient is a sponsor. I will be there. So if you want to ask me questions, one of our other solutions architects, Jason Charlton, will be there as well. So if you have any questions directly for us, if you think about them now or you think about them after the presentation, come on out to ZertoCon and we can answer them there. So real quick, I want to talk about, like Derek mentioned, around hyperscale cloud versus us. And we as an enterprise cloud, we offer a number of different capabilities that is very difficult for a hyperscale cloud to be able to meet. One of them is our full network failover. So when you bring over your virtual machines and you hit the failover button, you can fail over the entire network stack as well. So there's no IP changes, no DNS changes, nothing manual that you have to do. Your VM and your applications are up on the other side and accessible the same way that your users expect to be able to access them. There's also easy failback. So if you fail from maybe an on-premises site into a hyperscale cloud, you can go in really easily. Getting back out is a migration process. It is not just turning the replication around and hitting go again. So we can provide easy failback. So if you want to use us as just pure DR as a service, we can absolutely do that. You can fail over into us if you have a natural disaster, ransomware attack, something along those lines. And then when it's time to go back and you want to move back into your production workloads, you can just move back. We also offer our 100% SLA. Our service is up, period. And if it's not up, there's a service credit. That's the policy. So we don't play the 4 nines, 5 nines, 12 nines game. It's 100%. We also offer guaranteed performance. These are your resources. There's no oversubscription of those resources. So you don't have to fight with another customer doing something. You don't have to have any sort of noisy neighbor. When you get a gig of RAM, it's your gig of RAM. It's not oversubscribed 12 times. If you get a gig of storage, it's your gig of storage. It's not oversubscribed. So getting that native performance that you expect, because the business doesn't care that you've gone to a disaster recovery plan. They expect to run the business the way that they've run the business. So when you say, oh, well, it's DR, it's fine. It'll run on 6-year-old hardware because that's what we had. That's not acceptable to the business anymore. They expect to be able to fail over and operate the same way. They expect reports to run just as fast, their applications to run just as fast as they do when they're in normal production. So how do we do that? We deliver DR as a service to you. We have a world-class delivery team, and our delivery team and our operations staff, if you're on, hi, you guys do a great job. Our delivery team sits down with you and helps you build your run books from a compute standpoint and from a networking standpoint, to put your applications together, to put your systems together, to make sure that when you have a test or when you do a failover, that it is fully successful. You don't pay until you have a successful test. I can just period it there, right there. I want to make sure that we as Expedient want to make sure that when you have a successful test, that we're all incentivized to make that work. We want to make sure that you are successful, and you want to make sure that when you pay us for a service that it works and that it's not something that you have to constantly refactor, reconfigure over and over and over again. We want to make sure that when you bring your services to us, that they work. You also have unlimited testing. So if you're familiar with a DR provider that you've worked with in the past, where you get like a set number of hours per year or a set time, you got to call somebody and say, hey, we're doing our test, June 5th. You don't have to do that. What you can do is press the button. It's your button to press. Our operations staff is available, so if you're not near a computer and you need to do a failover, you can call us and we can do the failover for you. But the button is yours to press. It is your call to make. You have that control. And also we have 10 data centers, so you get to pick where you fail over into. So if you want to connect to our Indianapolis data center because you're in Illinois, or you're in Pittsburgh and you want to go to our Pittsburgh data center, or you want to be further than 90 miles away and go to our Columbus data centers, you can do that. It's your choice. Zerto is part of our tiered resiliency strategy, and Zerto powers our critical workload recovery. We have near real-time RPO through Zerto. We have an RTO in minutes, full network failover, full journaling, and all the automation powered by those runbooks. So when we're looking at your critical workloads, that's all being powered by Zerto and the Zerto platform that we have. From a network standpoint, this is the key. A lot of people, when they do a failover, they think about how am I going to get my data from one point to the other, and then do my VMs power on when I get there. But if you start to think about it, there's other pieces to your application. There's other pieces to that puzzle that usually get lost in the motion of this. And those are things like firewalls, IP ranges, VPN tunnels, and egress points that are the actual access point to your applications. And our ability to fail that over is incredibly powerful when your users don't have to try to remember to go to dr.domain.com to get to the DR version of the website, because that's the DNS address that's pointed to the DR IP address. They don't have to remember any of that. They go to the same websites, the same applications, the same IP addresses, the same host names that they were going to before, because we failed over the entire network. So what does that look like? Well, on the left, we have our primary site. On the bottom, we have our virtual servers. We have a private network gateway IP. We have a public IP. That, on the other side, we have our secondary site. And through Zerto, we have the virtual server replication, and we have failover orchestration through the VPGs on how those VMs come up and in what order. The public internet IP is pushed up to the core and out to the internet on the primary site by BGP. And if you have, let's say, a very bad day, the private IP fails over, the virtual servers fail over, and the public IP comes over, and BGP broadcasts that out to the core and makes the secondary site your new primary site. So everything that was in your primary site is now over at your secondary site. And your remote users, whether that's mobile devices, web browsers, or users in an office coming over a VPN tunnel or an actual circuit, they don't change anything that they're doing. They see that the application was down and now it's back up. They don't know that it's coming out of a completely different physical location. And that's incredibly powerful for your end users. So slides are neat, but let's actually show what this looks like. So here we have our main Expedient Enterprise Cloud view, and we have our two data centers. This is our ACM demo, or this is our ACM demo environment out of Pittsburgh, and we have our 701 environment out of Indianapolis. And if we go in here, we can see a pair of servers. This is VMworld Server 1 and VMworld Server 2. These are hosting a web application. And if we go to that, and I go to my demo address, we can pull up this WordPress site, right? Simple WordPress application, but this is publicly accessible. And if I go back into Expedient Enterprise Cloud, I can go to the Zerto portal. So again, all of this is inside the Expedient Enterprise Cloud portal. So one portal to go to, whether that's running your production machines or doing your DR failover, it's all through one portal. If we open this VPG up, we can see that we have an RPO of 8 seconds, and then we're protecting both of these VMs. If I go into my VPGs again, I'm going to check the box for this VPG, which is managing the VMs, and this one, which is managing the network stack. And we're going to kick off a failover. We'll go verify that those two are being protected. And now we can go into our checkpoints. And one of the neat things about Zerto is that because it has all of that journaling, you can do things like ransomware protection. So if I know that, hey, we got hit with a ransomware attack at 9:40, I want to go back to 9:34 p.m. and pick that checkpoint to be able to roll back to before the ransomware hit and get my applications back online. I don't have to go back to my backups. I don't have to go back to wherever the last time we copied these files somewhere. It's all being journaled by Zerto all the time. These are about 8 to 9 seconds apart, so you can go back and get really, really granular. For the demo here, though, we're going to pick the latest. And we're going to make sure that both of them are coming off of the latest. And then we have our commit policy. So you have the ability to do a full commit or a rollback. So whenever you actually kick off the failover, you have the ability to test your applications and make sure that they're working before you say, delete the journal, this is the new primary. So I'm going to set these to none so that I have the manual control here. And for the purposes of this demo, we're going to force the shutdown to make sure that we have a clean failover because I don't actually have any sort of site failures here, right? Both of our sites are still up. So we're going to kick off this failover and off it goes. So through this failover, we're bringing up the copy on the other side in our Indianapolis data center. So these were previously running in our Pittsburgh data center, and now they're running out of our Indianapolis data center. One other thing we're going to do here is we're going to fail over the egress points. So one of the big powers of Expedient Enterprise Cloud is that we can stretch layer 2 networks, and we have the capability to fail over our egress points. So right now, all of the traffic is coming out of ACM, and I'm going to swap the egress point, and with 2 clicks, all of my traffic is now coming out of Indianapolis, just like that. Very, very simple, very, very powerful. So I don't have to worry about my network edge in ACM failing. I don't have to worry about where my DNS is going to go, where my IP address ranges are going to go. They're available in both data centers, and swapping those egress points allows me to do that. So we're going to go back into the Zerto portal. And now that we've failed over those egress points, I'm going to go ahead and check my data center in 701. Again, checking before we actually do the commitment. And I see that my two VMs are available, server 1 and server 2. Go back into Zerto, and we can also check in and make sure that the website actually appears, right? So I can scroll through the page, I can make sure that it's running. So now that we've checked that the VMs are up and powered on, we've checked that the website is available, I'm going to go forward and commit these. And what this is doing is it's deleting the journal history on the previous primary side and saying journaling starts from the new site. And this is also turning the replication around and sending it back to Pittsburgh so that I can do a failback really, really easily. Again, the same platform on both sides. It's still VMware on the bottom on both sides. So I'm able to do that failover without having to make any changes. There's no migrations. So all of this is just delta syncing any changes that happen. So we're going to select these again. We're going to fail them back, right? Make sure we're on the latest checkpoint, and we are. Change our commit policies again so that I have that control. And we'll kick off the failover again. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to ping this server. And you can see this is a public IP address. Pings aren't working. Ping no worky. And if I go refresh this page, website can't be reached. And again, so the application actually goes down as part of this, right? We have to shut the VM down to bring it up on the other side. And we're going to go look at our ACM data center. And we can see that those VMs are in and they're now powered on. And if I go to my data center groups, I can swap the egress points back. Again, a couple clicks, and now my traffic is coming out of the right location. And if we bring that ping back up, I can see that my ping is working now. I can go to my website. I can refresh my website, and my website loads. So that was a failover and a failback with full network failover. The DNS addresses never changed. The IP ranges never changed. So that's our push button DR process, our push button DR product. This gives you things like ransomware protection beyond just traditional disaster recovery. We have near real-time RPO and full orchestration. So we fail over that network and the compute, and we can do it all through the VPG. So we can set which VMs come up correct, which VMs come up first. So to make sure things like database servers come up before application servers, and be able to do all that very, very simply. You also get a VMware license savings, right? So if you're trying to build this yourself, you have to build hosts on both sides, pay for all that hardware, and pay for all of that licensing. When you pay us for the virtual machines, you're paying for the gig of RAM and the gig of storage, and all of that includes a VMware license that's part of that. So you get a ton of license savings because you don't have to pay for all the hosts, you're just paying for the VMs that you want to protect. You can also bring your own licensing. So if you're an existing Zerto customer, I'm pretty sure Derek thanks you for that, you can bring that licensing over and just use our services right out of the box. You can also reuse these resources. Again, they're yours. So if you want to spin these up and do a test a database schema, those sorts of things, you can do that very, very quickly and very, very easily. So please join us next week as we continue this business resilience theme. We're going to be going through business resilience with VMware vCloud availability. This is part of that overall structure that we have. So last week was cloud data protection. This week was Zerto. Next week with VMware vCloud availability. So that, all of that tiered resiliency that I talked about earlier. And if you want to get a test drive on this, please reach out to me, aj.kuftick@expedient.com, or you can go to expedient.com/VMware-test-drive, and you can go get hands-on experience with Expedient's Enterprise Cloud. We can set that up with Zerto. You can start to do failovers and do tests and start to kick the tires on how this really works. We give you a not small amount of resources, right? We give you 128 gigs of RAM and a terabyte of storage and 30 days to use it. So please schedule a test drive with us. One of our solutions architects will sit down with you and go through what you're trying to do and help you build the right solution. And with that, I will turn it over to John and Rob and Derek for Q&A. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, AJ. We have a ton of questions here today, so we've been trying to answer them as fast as we possibly can inside of the Q&A box. Thanks for doing that. I saw some people putting some questions in the chat. If you didn't get your question answered, it's because we couldn't see it because it needs to be in the Q&A. So throw it in the Q&A, and there's a good chance we might actually answer it live. So let me just start hitting a few here that I saw kind of clustered together. On the security and compliance pieces, we had people ask about PCI DSS, GDPR, HIPAA, and yes, I mean, all those things are what we take an account for. So it's not a magic wand that we wave that you automatically get this compliance, but there's pieces that we can work with you on to make sure that we can meet your auditor's needs. A lot of people asked about some of the differentiators between different hypervisors out there and what's all supported. What we're talking about today is more the VMware or more Expedient side of it, which is all focused on VMware. So we can do VMware from your site, your data center, potentially, into ours. We do a lot of cloud to cloud, and that's really what AJ showed you, which is the really kind of cool and unique thing about our solution, where we can do the full failover the network. There's a lot of different ways we can do that when it's coming from your site, but as you can probably tell, there's some different complications with it. So we can work through that to make it that it's very automated, so you simply can push the button and fail over, and that's what we're trying to do here. And make sure that we can kind of keep DR simple so that it's something you actually test instead of putting it off like we see a lot of enterprises do today. So we had some questions on pricing, and that's always a big hot topic for us. It's something we can go into on an individual basis. So make sure you're reaching out to AJ, sales team, whoever. We can make sure you have the conversation. It's pretty simple as far as how it's priced. I mean, you're buying the disk resources that you need, the individual licenses you need to actually do your replication, and that's about it. So if you're just doing it from your site and our site, it's just a handful of SKUs to kind of make this happen. During the process of implementation with our team, we're helping you build all the run books. We're helping you make sure that everything's set up and verified. So all that's included in the service. And we're really scoping it for any type of VM that's out there. So as long as it's a VM, we're usually able to replicate it. And coming from VMware, it makes like our life pretty easy, so we can really handle any workloads you throw at us. Some people were asking about the different databases that are out there. If you're running Oracle, yeah, you could use Zerto to do it. We see a lot of companies using DataGuard, so they'll run Oracle with the primary, Oracle with the secondary, and then run DataGuard or even SQL always on to handle replication. So you want to make sure the data is staying consistent. And also you have different RPOs that you need to hit. So a lot of different ways we can do it, but the best way to kind of work through all those things, all those questions, is to contact us, and we can have a longer form discussion on it.
John, a question about if someone needed to fail over to the DR site for an extended period of time, could another site be spun up as kind of a tertiary site? And then how would that affect the ability to fail back? So if you need to fail, if something happens at your primary site, you need to fail over to the DR site, we could then start replicating to a tertiary site. Once whatever happened got repaired at the initial site, you'd be able to fail back to it. Or you can, continue to operate with the two new sites as you go forward.
Question on some of the data center locations. We do offer data centers outside of the US. They're actually being used a lot as DR sites, mainly for GDPR. So those are in Australia, Frankfurt, and in Canada. So those are something that we can actually help you, provide a secondary site or primary site out of those facilities. And then we have 12 data centers inside of the United States, across the United States.
A handful of questions as far as what OSs are supported, what types of machines are supported. So John alluded to it a little bit about Zerto supporting VMs, and then we have other solutions that can support your physical machines, or so AIX and AS400 and a whole slew of other different type of legacy machines listed out there.
So a few people have asked, kind of what some of the, the value prop here, with Expedient and about the partnership. We've, like Derek mentioned, he's been on the account for 3 years. I've been working with Zerto now since, I want to say close to 2008, when they were first opening their first Boston office. And, my first interaction with Zerto was actually, we had a product engineer come up and do an evaluation on the product, and we handed them about 2 pages of notes and said, these are all the things that we need fixed to then make it work for Expedient. And so we invested the time and they put the investment into the software so that we could build the product together. So a lot of our differentiator and why we have such a great partnership is because we've been working on it for a long time, and we're a major stakeholder in the product, and then make sure we're giving feedback to make sure the product gets better. And part of that has come with our growth. So we've 2x'd our growth with Zerto. Now I think we're one of the top 3 largest providers in Zerto right now. And we've 2x'd it year over year for so long that when you're getting that many at bats, you're making sure that the product inside and out, and making sure that it's working pretty seamlessly between the 2 groups.
Absolutely. And I can validate that John White's been very visionary and has been quite the assistance for our dev team, for our marketing team, to be able to move the product to places that are actually benefiting the entire Zerto ecosystem. So thank you, John.
Anytime.
There are a couple of questions around, what type of expertise and training would be required for, someone to kind of interact with the Expedient system. And I think that's the beauty of it, right? We provide the implementation service, the migration service, the setup, and then work with your teams to be comfortable on day-to-day operations. But you always have Expedient to fall back to. Our support staff is available 24/7, 365. So, you have the ability to log into the environments. You have the ability to push the button for yourself if you want to, or you can call us and we'll push the button and monitor and make sure that the failover completes successfully. So we kind of give you the best of both worlds there. And, if you're familiar with, VMware technology and, some general things, most clients don't have much issue kind of just logging in and getting up to speed on the system.
And if you want to see just how easy it is, please sign up for a test drive. Expedient.com/VMware-test-drive to get it. Seriously, come on in and see how easy it is. It's very, very similar in terms of how you interact with VMs, how you interact with your systems. So a fantastic opportunity here. Also, we have a winner for the TV. Deb Turner is the winner for the TV. So congratulations, Deb. Karen will be reaching out to you to get everything squared away with shipping.
AJ, I think the best question that came in was, where did you get your shirt?
This is straight off of the clearance rack at Gap like 6 years ago. So it has this shirt and I have been around for a bit. I like this shirt a lot. If you come back to more of these webinars, you'll see more of all of these various patterns and stuff. I like bright colors. It's fine.
A couple of questions about the pricing. So it's a monthly fee. As AJ mentioned, you're going to have resource pools in either one or more data centers where you can replicate into. Different types of contract lengths are available depending on your business need. We can kind of work through all of those things.
I saw a question here that it kind of made me put me into a thinking mode. Why would it be beneficial to stay with a hybrid model versus all cloud? We see this a lot from customers, right? They're not entirely sure that they want to go all the way in on cloud. That's fine. We have customers that still want to run certain workloads on-prem because they already have certain compliance things wrapped around it. They're heavy legacy things that they don't want to shut down and move. So there's a lot of different reasons why you would go with a hybrid model. And it's going to really come down to your application stack, and the appetite from the business to do that move. We can absolutely help when it comes to DR as a service. Both from a virtual side, but also a physical side. We have a number of other ways that we handle things like legacy operating systems, physical hardware, those sorts of things to help you build an overall DR solution. Zerto is a really great platform for our VMware environment, but we recognize that there are other pieces to that puzzle that need to be determined. So I think there's a couple of different reasons why you would stay with a hybrid model versus going all cloud. And I think it comes down to really per customer needs. It's one of those it depends sort of questions. Derek, here's a question. Does every VMware host need a Zerto replication appliance?
Every one that you want to protect VMs on, yes.
So I think that's a really nice way to say not all of them, but these are the important ones.
Exactly. And how we scale, that's how we do without agents, without snapshots. So that's kind of the secret. The VRA is our data mover.
A question about ransomware. I think we kind of addressed that a little bit. But Zerto's journaling provides multiple restore points. We can have that journal kind of at any length up to a couple of weeks to 30 days, just depending on what type of protection you're looking for, and then give you as many restore points as possible throughout that period of time. As the question was kind of being asked about, is it proactively preventing ransomware? No, and it's a DR product. It's not a network security product.
Right. Yeah, it's a threat remediation tool, right? We're not going to stop the threat. We're going to help you fix the threat that happened.
I see a couple questions here around providing hardware. Who does that? We as Expedient provide the hardware when you move into our push button DR service. So all of that is done by us. You don't have to worry about licensing hosts, building all that hardware, maintaining all of that hardware. You pay per VM on the resources that we have. We don't oversubscribe those resources. So if you want 50 gigs of RAM and a terabyte of storage, you'll get 50 gigs of RAM and a terabyte of storage. So we provide all that hardware. You don't have to worry about that. That's one of the beauties of this platform, is that it's not you don't need to manage it. You don't need to consider the build or design. It's already designed and built for you. It's just up to you to consume it. Derek, are there any limits on size for Zerto replication?
We typically have disk size limitations. We're not going to have, anything over 96 terabytes. But, we typically don't run into scale issues. Our scale is VMware's scale, is Azure scale, is AWS's scale, is Expedient scale. So we're really dependent on whatever platform we're on to be able to be given the resources that they need.
Rob, do you have any other questions that you would like to answer?
Looking through there, I don't see. I think we've hit most every topic, at least generally. And if you have, a very specific question, feel free to reach out and we can talk about very specific topics.
Yeah.
We try to hit the general themes of the hundreds of questions that are pouring in, and kind of group them together. So it's hard to pinpoint very specific answers.
If you do have any questions, please reach out to me, aj.kuftik@expedient.com. Specifically, we can help you get connected to some of our solutions architects to really dive deeper into what it is that you're looking to do. Also, again, the test drive is available, so expedient.com/VMware-test-drive, so you can see how we're building all of this and what it's really like to run it. Derek, I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for joining us today. Rob, I want to thank you and John for Q&A time and taking care of all the questions that we had in there. And we will see you guys next week. Same time, same day. Bye.
Awesome. Thanks, AJ.